Today's guest on the Change Matters Virtual Summit is Michel Beutler. He's a visionary and inspirational leader to whom I can greatly thank my own change consulting journey. About 15 years ago, he was the one to welcome me to a global team with a sole focus on consulting on transformational programs, and I'm eternally grateful for that. With over 25 years of experience with a wide range of sectors and companies, like in the financial sector, in DHL, in Syngenta, and now in Endress and Hauser, he's a change leader with strong stakeholder relationships, talent and people development focus, and is a trusted advisor to senior executives. He inspired me then, and he inspires me now. This is why it is such a pleasure to welcome you, Michel, to our summit today.
Thank you, Katie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Would you tell me about a time when a completely unexpected proposal was presented to you and you accepted it?
Actually, that was when I was back in DHL, a business partner, working with the business on different projects, obviously also on change. And we found out over the years that we are not really good at dealing with change. We were very process driven. Project management was very strong. So we created good results, but we were not really good at bringing people on board. We were not really good at, as we called it at the time, the soft side of things. And I already had these discussions with my boss at the time, and suddenly my boss said, you know what, now is the time to really build a capability in this company. How about you taking up a center of expertise? How about you building a team that really deals with change management in a professional way? So that was quite a surprise, because we talk about DHL, a company of over 500,000 people at the time, present in over 220 countries. I was completely by myself, and well, how do you start? But that is obviously exactly what at least my personality inspired me a lot, because on one side, I was really curious about learning something new. Two, it was something that deeply inside I was completely convinced of, that we need that as a company. And three, there's also the ambition behind, which says, hey, you can build up something new from scratch. So how about taking this challenge? And I took it.
That's amazing. So basically, you diagnosed the problem. We're too process focused and we're not bringing people on board. And your boss said, okay, do something about it. How did you go about it? If the listeners are curious where they could start, what would you suggest them to consider?
The first thing was that I said, I do not have to reinvent everything by myself. You can learn from lots of experience that is around in the world. And that's what we did. That's what I did. So I started very small. We had also at the time some consultancy that was working with us, and I listened to how they did. I looked at examples from GE at the time and other companies, and we really learned from experience, learned from books, learned from consultants, learned from some practical examples from other companies, and we really used that as a basis. But what is even more important, and that's my big learning, is yes, you should not invent everything by yourself. There is so much good experience around in the world that we can profit from. What is important is you need to build the bridge to your culture, to your company, to your way of working. And I think that is what made us so successful. We really translated our learnings into what is required for the culture, the time, the people in DHL. And we translated it and made it and developed our own methodology, which really fits to our culture, fits to our people. And that, I think, was one of the key success factors.
So you said, don't reinvent the wheel, which is definitely a relevant and good advice for others who are considering the opportunity to build up their own change teams. But you also said something about this bridging the gap over to the organizational culture. I'm actually wondering, before you did that, how did you get the buy-in of other leaders other than your own boss to let you do this? Because it's a totally new way of working, a new model that you are introducing.
It's a great question, because many companies actually failed because of the missing top management buy-in, or key stakeholders, call them as whatever is relevant to your organization. It was very important, of course, to have already the support of my boss at the time, who was member of the management board, representing HR in the management board. But it was crucial, as you say, to really get the business leaders on board, because here is my second key learning. Change is not just about HR, something you just delegate to HR. I have a problem with change management. Well, HR does it. No, actually, you have to do it. The business has to do it. And therefore, your question is so important, Kitty, that obviously the business leaders need to be convinced. Some of them had the conviction that change management is important. So this was a great help. This was a great start for me, that I was not completely running against the wall of management, of leaders who completely were against it. Some of them were neutral or skeptical. And what I did is, with the power of some of the key leaders, creating first examples, using methodology in first practical examples, and then also get the result and the feedback back to the line managers again. So start small. Not roll out the huge thing around the whole entire company, but actually start with projects where you have a need, but where you also have the support from the business, and show that this methodology, that this way of thinking, this way of working really has a positive impact on results, on speed, on efficiency, and especially on the stakeholders, on the key people that need to change. Once you could really show these results, these positive impact, obviously you got more and more people on board. So it was really starting small, and then really showing the results, getting more people on board. And with that, we grew in a quite short of time from the backyard into the whole world of DHL.
Fascinating, because over 15 years later, it's a team that's still in place with a strong mandate. And that's the question I'd like to ask you. When you got invited to embrace this uncharted territory of setting up a new function that focuses on the soft side, on the people side for any transformation, how did you and your team come up with a mandate, a mission that was later accepted by more and more business leaders?
I think the key change, or the key I would say success that we were able to reach, is that change management, first of all, is not isolated. You do a project, and besides you do a change management project just to get the results and have some stakeholder management. Actually, what was really key is to link it with project management, is to link it into the way we do projects. Basically, not keeping it aside as an isolated additional, I would say, shadow project, which runs in parallel. It is key to really bring the two ways of working, be it the hard project management side with the soft change management side. So we really married the two and made sure that in every step of the project, we look at what does it mean in terms of people? What kind of stakeholders do you need to involve at this stage of the project? How do you explain the why? What does it mean to the communication plan, etc., etc.? But that, as I say, doesn't run in parallel, but actually is married into your project. The consequence is logic. Yes, it will eventually prolong your project, because it takes time. It takes time to get people on board. But as we always said, it takes time to save time, because at the end, if you prepare your project well and you get your stakeholders on board, you will win time, because you don't have all these loops that normally projects have when they find out that actually some people didn't get it. You have still a lot of resistance, and you need to redo and to redo and to redo. So in the end, it takes time to save time. And the very important piece was really to marry the two into one.
So just to recap a couple of your key messages, don't reinvent the wheel if you want to build up your own change team in your organization. You said find the business leaders who actually buy into it so you can show that positive impact on the first results. And the third one is to link it to the project management methodologies, approaches, to the infrastructure of your organization. So it's not a standalone activity or new topic. You mentioned that positive impact, and showing that positive impact already with the first projects is super important. How do you or did you measure success for a topic that's so intangible in a way?
Well, that is a discussion that is still going on. That is a very tough one. I'm still working with change management, of course, in my new environment, and that is a challenge which somehow keeps on going. There were different ways we were doing. Obviously, the start was purely qualitative. What is the feedback of the people? What did they learn? How did it impact their project? What were the advantages that happened thanks to a change management approach? So we did lots of interviewing and of some collecting statements from the people that have been impacted or part of the change. Later on, we started to really compare projects to another. So a project with change management and a project without change management. Also, this one helped to a certain degree, but it's difficult. It is difficult to really compare two projects. Is it really exactly the same? Then also we had some consultancy which was measuring the impact. But most important for me was really, is the change successful? Have we reached the goals that we set at the beginning? Did we reach those goals? And we started to simply measure the impact, the result of the project. Did it bring the result that we had defined at the beginning? And that is something we had used over the time and had some good examples to show there.
Thank you very much for all your insights, comments, and recommendations, Michel. It was an absolute pleasure to talk with you and to spread the word about why change matters. Thank you so much, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you very much.